All right, we're ready. Yeah, we're ready to go.
All right. Oh yeah, it's hot like that. Okay. Anyway, welcome to the April 23rd, 2026 Site Plan Review Committee Subgroup Meeting for the 4420 Fairfax Drive project. We will be holding a hybrid public meeting which enables remote electronic participation as legally authorized by the Code of Virginia for the Planning Commission's electronic meeting policy adopted on July 7th, 2022. Members of the SPRC subgroup for the 4420 Fairfax Drive project are participating both here in person and virtually through electronic means. At this time, I'd like to orient to our hybrid environment and cover a few specifics about how tonight's meeting will run. Members of the public may attend the meeting here in person or electronically by using the Microsoft Teams link provided on the SPRC project webpage, county's event calendar, and the email notification sent to SPRC. Additionally, there is a dial-in option for those who wish to use it. For our subgroup members joining virtually, if anyone loses internet connectivity during today's meeting, please reconnect to us by phone. Please keep your phones and devices muted until you are called upon. Turn off sounds in any other devices around you to minimize interference. For our virtual attendees using Microsoft Teams, please turn off your video feed. I will address you when it is appropriate to turn it on in a moment. The Microsoft Teams meeting chat is active to serve two purposes. First, for SPRC subgroup members who need technical assistance, and for members of the public to add their name to the list for public comment, which will be taken at the end of the presentations. The Teams chat should not be used for discussion. Those who are planning to provide public comment will still need to do so after the initial presentations, as the chat will not serve as that opportunity. All public comments must be shared verbally for the record during the assigned public comment periods. If subgroup members participating virtually wish to be recognized and speak on an item during the course of the meeting, please turn on your video feed and raise the virtual hand in Teams. Myself will monitor the chat and make sure that I can see you, and we will indicate when you are ready to speak. If subgroup members are participating via phone today without the video option, please announce your name and the group you are representing now, and I will verbally check in to see if you wish to be recognized, as you do not have the speaker feed option. To unmute yourself, please press *6. Seeing none. For our members of the public who'd like to provide feedback and comment, you will be called on to speak at the end of the presentations and will be allotted 2 to 3 minutes on tonight's agenda item. The speaking time allotted will depend on the number of speakers we have this evening. If you wish to speak, please enter your name in the meeting chat for virtual attendees, or provide staff with your name, or in person. There's a sign-in sheet going around where you can do that to be added to the speakers list. Lastly, this is a public forum. Today's meeting will be recorded and posted to the county website. All information associated with today's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to Freedom of Information Act requirements. Okay, with that out of the way, we'll do a round of introductions around the table. The SPRC members, I'll start with me. My name is Tony Striner, and I'm the planning commission chairing tonight's hearing.
Steve Sockwell, Forestry and Natural Resources.
Nick Cummings, land use attorney for the applicant.
John Carden, representing ARIA Development Group for the project for the 420 North Fairfax, technically ARIA Boston LLC.
Umber Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
Jim Lantelli, Planning Commission.
Joe Venturone, Housing Commission.
Till Barker, Park and Rec Commission.
Randy Painter, Boston, Virginia Square Civic Association.
Thea Backley, Planning Commission.
Adriana Torres, Planning Commission.
Ryan Gavin, Continental Condominiums.
David Friedman, C2E2 pinch hitting.
Dave Freed, Arlington County DEF. Peter Schultz from the Planning Division.
All right. Do I have any members of the roster attending virtually here tonight? No, I do.
I am.
I was going to say Meg.
Is that Meg?
Yeah,
Meg?
please introduce
All right.
yourself one at a time.
Yes. Of course, Meg Flores, and Transportation Commission.
We have Eric Goodman, but we already have somebody representing the pedestrian advisory at the meeting. So Goodman, if you don't mind, you'd be treated as a member of the public if you was.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other members of the roster here attending virtually? Okay, great. All right. Well, with that introductory piece out of the way, I will turn it over to staff. They'll do their presentation, the applicant, and then we'll do some public comment. That out of the way here. so people don't have to stay if they don't want to. So without further ado,
Okay. All right.
staff, take it away.
All right. Well, then, the proposed agenda will, go ahead and we'll move up the public comment to after, I guess, staff presentation or applicant? Applicant presentation. Okay. I'm going to be very brief. The first SPRC, there was a lot of information to digest. The applicant here, I think we're going to put the onus on them to explain changes since the last meeting based on market conditions. And while to us, the use, whether condominiums or apartments or a combination of both, it's all multifamily to staff. You would probably be interested to hear about possible changes inside the building to accommodate a version of the building where there would be both condominiums and rental units. The discussion topics that we'll try to wrap up today as a warrant, public space and landscaping, which the applicant, as part of their presentation, will show you they have made some changes. Green building and sustainability. The nomenclature, site features and amenities, just to let everybody know, that's what you normally call sometimes colloquially community benefits. We've been trying to shift over to this in places outside of Rosslyn and Crystal City where community benefits is designed or defined in the zoning ordinance to try to say site features and amenities. And then really preliminarily, the construction timeline and possible hauling routes. More, it would be just getting feedback from the SPRC on those issues. And then public comment, 2 minutes each, and then wrap up for the time permitting. Slide, please. Just to remind the location where we are, 4420 Fairfax Drive, with the existing office building proposed to be replaced. Slide, please. So there are revisions since the last meeting. I will briefly describe them. They have revised the landscaping on Fairfax Drive. The Fairfax Drive sidewalk clear width minimum is 10 feet 6 inches, and that's just a minimum. It varies, but the absolute closest, narrowest of the clear sidewalk is 10 feet 6 inches. However, they also have a 24-foot total streetscape as recommended in Ballston. They're not proposing to vacate Vermont Street. So what that actually does is it doesn't have an effect on the building's form. What it did have an effect on is you'll see if you read the staff report is actually the FAR has gone up because there's a smaller site area. Proposing to vacate Vermont Street, there was really no reason to do it. They would have to pay to either vacate the street or earn that additional density through community benefits, and we prefer that it be the site features and amenities, aka community benefits, and the applicant agrees. Further, there is no real reason to vacate Vermont Street and dedicate it back to us, so just leave the street alone. And then they've revised the plan to accommodate some for sale units, and they'll tell you they are proposing in this scenario to add a third level of parking and separate lobbies for the rental and condominium, which would have some effect on the ground floor. And the total unit count could be reduced to as low as 240 in order to create larger units within the same floor area ratio, the same building. So nothing form-wise really with the building. It's how the uses would be allocated inside the building. Next slide, please. Just briefly, the public space and landscaping, the Ballston sector plan doesn't recommend any sort of public plaza. The Western Metro entrance was not contemplated at the time of the adoption of the plan. However, it does have a general recommendation for plazas that there should be 1 tree per 500 square feet and about 150 square feet of grass or ground cover for every 1,000 square foot of plaza. So proposed landscaping behind the elevators, we are continuing to discuss this with the applicant, may conflict with WMATA's plans. So if in that case that does happen, prefer a little landscaping maybe elsewhere in that plaza. closer up to the building so that it doesn't inhibit pedestrian access, of course. The COA regulations under which this is the zoning district that the application is under requires 10% landscaping over the course of the site plan. So that actually means all of the entire site plan that is, between Glebe Road and Lips Building, I believe it's called, and the Jefferson Building. Right now, there's only 7% over that whole site plan. However, the applicant with this proposal is about 15% of the disturbed area would be landscaping. So while on this individual project, it exceeds that 10%, it would help to raise the amount of landscaping in this giant SP 331. Which currently is, with this proposal, only be about 7% landscaping. And that's just a fact because of the piecemeal development of this site plan, unfortunately. Next slide, please. The applicant is not participating in the density incentive program. They are doing certain commitments that we put in the conditions of approval, bird friendly glass, et cetera. But they wouldn't be getting extra density from the incentive program. Next slide, please. So the site features and amenities, aka community benefits. There's two buckets. There's one that site features we always get with every site plan. New sidewalks, streetscape. They don't get any density for this and no credit for this. They're expected to do it, contribute to the underground utility fund. There is a zoning ordinance. Required affordable housing, monetary or on-site unit contribution, transportation demand management for the tenants of the building, a public art contribution in building wireless for first responders, and removal of an outdated office building. Now, they're not getting additional density credit for this. On the left, our zoning ordinance in section 1559 has ways that a development could earn additional density above what the zoning permits, and that is for affordable housing, either on-site units, off-site units, or cash. Community facilities, transportation improvements, building techniques, which they said they're not doing, and other sort of community public benefits. So that is currently under negotiation. When we get to that discussion topic, we would like to hear what people's thoughts are on this site. I will mention that 2006 building that was approved here that never got built. The entire community benefits package went to funding for the western entrance to the metro. So the previous approval had no affordable housing contribution or on-site other than the one that's in the zoning ordinance, just as a background. However, like I said, we're currently working with the applicant of how to divide up the affordable housing, either, I should say, the additional density that they're requesting, how they earn that through a combination, one of these techniques. So, but I would like to hear people's opinions. Next slide, please. For those who are unfamiliar, all site plans have these conditions on them that go above and beyond what county law normally requires for construction issues. For instance, somehow.
Sorry.
Did you break it?
Yeah, I broke it.
But anyways, these conditions include limitations on the hours of construction, required community meetings before construction or actually even demolition can commence. A parking plan that provides free off-street parking for construction workers, and a plan to encourage transit and carpooling for these construction workers. Utilities work will need advance notice to neighbors. There's supposed to be a community liaison, a required community liaison, whose information would be provided either on site and to neighboring property owners. As one point of contact about any questions or concerns about construction. The county approves a construction hauling route, and then that has to be posted on the site so that adjacent properties can make sure that they're following that. And then, of course, they're never exempt from all other federal, state, and local permits and environmental laws. I know there are those who are concerned about dust during construction. There are state laws about that, the Virginia Uniform Statewide Building Code. So they will have to follow those. We do not put additional conditions on site plans beyond what building codes require, because that is difficult for us to. But whatever they may work out with adjacent property owners, adjacent residents, that's something, to work out with the liaison. And then finally, just as a wrap up, I do want to say staff is still concerned. We had a loaded agenda the last time about normally we require a 40-foot deep loading dock, at least one loading dock. The applicant, because of the small size of the site, only a 30-foot deep loading dock. However, so a truck that's longer than that, if one that is possible would stick out of the loading dock while loading. We just want people to be aware of that. And staff lately has not offered any waivers on this issue. So that does remain a last issue that staff will need to talk about internally and talk then with the applicant. Location of the landscaping behind the elevators, they may, depending on how negotiations go with WMATA, the landscaping that's shown behind the metro elevators may have to be moved somewhere else. And then visitor parking, again, they're required 10 spaces. They're proposing 6 visitor parking spaces on site. However, there are also those 4 parking spaces that are on the surface adjacent to Fairfax Alley. They are off site, so we can't count them as visitor parking, but that does something staff is still working with the applicant on that, and may come to a resolution. And that's it for the staff applications.
All right, thank you very much. Applicant, you're on.
Hey, thank you, Peter. Thank you, committee. Good evening. My name is John Carden, and I'm with ARIA Development Group. Met many of you last time, but I'll wait for the presentation to come up. But I'll keep going. That's one of these slides. But for those of you who are not here, ARIA is a boutique real estate development company focused on expanding residential housing opportunities through creative development and renovation projects. We've been working in the Washington, D.C. area since the company's founding in 2009. ARIA has offices in Washington, D.C., New York City, and Miami, and our projects span those markets as well as Nashville, Charlotte, and Kansas City. Personally, I've been managing development projects in Washington, D.C. for over 20 years. However, this is ARIA's and my first project in Northern Virginia, and we are delighted to be here. We had a great SPRC meeting in February where we discussed land use and density, site design and layout, architecture, and transportation. There was a lot of positive and constructive feedback generated at that meeting. As you heard earlier, our application includes a 22-story mixed-use building that contains 302 market rate dwelling units with 253,460 square feet of gross floor area at a 9.19 FAR. The building will also include approximately 4,412 square feet of retail or retail equivalent gross floor area.
Daniel, may I actually have to share?
Yeah, it's coming up on our screens.
Yeah, I see it on mine too.
Rejoin the meeting, maybe.
It's just the view of this one.
I see you sharing on my screen.
It's the view of that screen. It's the issue, not, it's coming up on the,
Yeah, okay, I can see them.
it's like I see yours.
Yeah.
Can you click on view? Is it?
People at home, can you see the slideshow?
I can see it here.
Because you can see the bottom of it.
I can see it on my iPad.
Is it possible the
Spotlighted
projector screen connection is frozen?
Can you move the mouse around? Like, can you see the?
You do like alt tab.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. No, this is, let me exit the spot.
You said 300 units and then 240, which is it?
So we'll get there.
Yeah,
But
save that for once we're done.
The plans that are filed, to clarify, the plans that are filed are 300.
Okay, I tell you what, why don't you, Jessica, send the drop a link to it in the chat to your presentation, and then I will try to open it up from the main computer. Seemed to work when I tried to bring up my presentation.
I'll forward you the presentation.
So we can see slide.
Checking that out.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Okay, so it means it's recording, and we can see it on.
Yeah.
But Jessica, just.
Yeah, I'm gonna forward you the.
Yeah. I, the ideal. Yeah. Well, you got it memorized.
Yeah, I've never,
I don't.
never seen before an image.
Yeah.
You gotta.
Right.
Use it first.
What's an Arlington meeting without tech issues anyways?
Yeah, that's right.
I think the standard site plan conditions.
It's meant to mitigate,
Have the impacts.
well, yeah, it's meant to
I think it's
mitigate.
what Ryan.
Yeah.
Is that
I don't know.
it's, if we have to fix something, it's gonna be fun.
So I just forwarded you the,
Oh, is it in my email?
yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Oh,
I was
actually, so I'll put it in the,
Couldn't do it in the chat, okay.
let me try that.
Well, no, that's all right. No, let me see if I can do it then.
Just make sure it's a private.
Personal computer, see if that's. I was just do it from this main computer, but I don't have my. Okay, all right. Great.
Jessica, if you did have the raw PowerPoint, I know that present PowerPoint and Teams work fine. Then earlier, so if you did have them.
Is it possible to just?
You can see slide.
Well, there's the button to share, present in Teams and PowerPoint isn't on the PDF reader. So all I can do is full screen, which I think.
Yeah.
We're both doing and it's both not showing.
Oh.
Yeah, this isn't working.
But it worked with the PowerPoint when I did present in Teams, but you have PowerPoint. That's why
With the, I mean, with the PDF.
I thought that.
That's what it's,
Managing slides.
So people can see it there, but not.
Yeah, can the people at
Can you-
home still see
Yeah,
it?
they said they
Can you see it on your computer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's,
we can see it.
whatever.
Okay, so everybody at home can still see it. It's
So I
just.
just shared mine. Can you see all go home?
No, that's, at least it's not showing. on
that's
this main
really
computer.
strange.
So Peter, I just shared my presentation.
I left my phone in the car.
So,
Oh, I just shared ours. Can you see our presentation on your screen?
yeah, I can,
Oh,
yeah.
yes. Okay, so
Yeah,
You can also just use the laptops we have in the room. If we don't have this figured out in 2 minutes, we should just do that.
Well, not everybody has a laptop.
And we'll position them in front of.
Can have somebody move around the
What else are we gonna do?
room.
I'm still baffled by this.
I don't understand it. I'm not baffled.
Isn't this on the website?
But I don't know.
Peter, can't you get it from the website?
It just doesn't make any sense. You can see his mouse moving. He can see it.
Yeah, oh, you're right. Yes, I could get it from the website.
we had updated it from.
Yeah. So that's a lot.
Yeah, okay.
I would try from the website.
Okay, well, they said they had
They
updated
updated it,
the
the original meeting.
the version on the web.
It's not
Can you send me the
most
version?
recent one on the website is.
We were just updating it an hour
One on the
ago,
website.
1 hour ago.
Yeah, that's what I updated. This is, no, sorry about that.
It's close.
It's okay. It's good to know. Can you update the left-hand? Looks like.
Yeah. Can
Let's
hack
just
it out
do
then.
that. Let's just do that.
Everybody over there, just gather around the computers at work. John and I up here can just talk and he'll imagine the
Okay,
presentation.
All right, I'm gonna.
We have the one that's on the
But we don't
website.
have this.
Yeah, we have the one on the website.
Okay, okay, so what if I?
Thank
You
you.
watch from the
Okay.
meeting.
Watch yours.
You know,
You can
you
watch
can,
it in meetings.
you have to, yeah, you're watching it twice. You gotta watch it in person and here
Are you
online.
eating on your phone?
Now it's not showing on mine.
You have the one on the
I don't know.
It's on my laptop now.
Is anybody, sh-
Daniel, can you bring up on yours and we like do
Yeah.
half the table?
is anyone sharing right now?
I have it on my.
Yes, has the presentation.
But I don't, now I don't. see
Now
it
I
on
don't,
mine.
Oh, I stopped sharing.
Oh,
stop
okay,
sharing.
that explains that.
All right, we'll start.
Okay, somebody share it again.
Please share it so that people on.
And does everyone have access to a laptop in the room here?
No, I'm not.
I'm gonna go, I'll go to my car and get my phone.
Um,
You have no idea what. This
Doesn't make
is,
sense.
okay, just to clarify, the one on the.
Dana, he'll be back in the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see, there isn't a PowerPoint.
Okay.
The one on the website different than the one.
Yeah, it is.
We made some slight updates to it, literally just like an hour or so ago.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So this is.
So this isn't, see, we have to get on the meeting.
Okay, but does everyone have some kind of access to?
No,
I can get on.
if she turns hers in.
Yeah.
Can you join the meeting?
If you join, it sounds like if you join the meeting on Teams, that's what I just.
In the calendar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So everybody's got a screen though.
Can we experiment, like somebody else try sharing something to see if,
Join the meeting now.
there's gotta be a way to get this work. This just makes.
I think we
no
spent too
sense.
much time on this. I think we've
But
got.
we haven't tried it.
Who's gonna watch this? Yes.
Just let time pass.
Okay, he's gonna join the meeting. Can you let him?
Okay,
Yeah, if
so-
you join the
you
meeting
see it
from
on-
personal
I'm
device.
sharing it now. Do you see
Yeah,
it?
I can see it on our.
Yep,
Laptop.
I see it now.
Okay, can you let him in the meeting?
So,
I have two cell phones.
You have to write your name.
does anybody need me to share?
All right, then you guys gotta vote. Okay.
You have to let him in the meeting.
So
I'll try to be very descriptive in my
yeah,
language.
it's writing a book.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Fair that we,
What was a nice touch.
Does everyone in the room have a visual on the slides now?
well, we'll have to look at.
All right, and
Just you want to.
please, as everybody comes in the meeting, please mute yourself because otherwise.
I'm gonna try.
Oh, God.
You don't want to hear that. Once is enough.
Okay,
Maybe it doesn't have.
If you can read it.
Sorry, hold on.
oh, that's not gonna work. I can't.
We should all mute.
Everybody
first.
mute
Everybody
their.
mute as soon as you come in the room. All right.
In the early days of the internet.
Oh, it's not showing up on your meeting? And now it's not showing?
It takes a minute.
Oh,
It took a minute.
Okay.
I mean,
We have a lot of people on the Wi-Fi right now.
We'll trust.
You gotta do.
Apparently we need a PowerPoint.
You should tell.
I mean, I just shared it in PDF in this room.
I was gonna say, that seems new.
Yeah, that's something I don't know.
Change sometimes updates.
You can let me in.
The real problem here is Microsoft.
Just came up.
Yeah, but I can share.
We try leaving and.
Trying to share.
No. Someone else.
So do you put us on your phone? Okay, so if I change the slides, change for you. Okay, so me changing. Okay,
The problem is.
does that work? I can share.
Is anyone in the room talking? I cannot hear anyone online.
I can't hear anyone either.
everyone online, they are aware of the issue and they have someone in the room with tech support helping them right now. So hang on.
Okay.
So what was the solution?
Can they hear us now?
That's any questions?
Yes, we can hear you.
We're just getting right to business.
Can we get permission, please, and you can hear us?
Can everyone at home hear us? Please unmute and let us know.
He's unmuting.
Yes, yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, excellent.
All right. We appreciate your patience with that. Assuming that we're all good and ready now, I kick it back to the applicant. Start over if you'd like.
I will spare everybody the 3 paragraphs I read. So thanks for everyone's patience. Last thing in my intro is that there is a current valid site plan approval for a very similar building for this site, and it dates back to 2006, 20 years ago. Our effort here has been to modernize and improve that design, meet current regulations, and finally enable the project to be built. Pairing our proposal to the currently approved building, ours is very similar in massing and size and is the exact same height with a very similar site layout. Next slide, please. Since our first SPRC meeting, we have made changes to the project, both in reaction to comments from staff and this committee, but also to best position the project to be financed and constructed in an extremely difficult economic market. First, it's to feedback regarding the planter that we placed mid-block in front of the building along Fairfax Drive. We've removed that planter. The planter adjoining the WMATA elevators remains, and we've extended it a bit to the east to hug our building. The planter area will create a landscape buffer separating the retail plaza from the elevators and the building. In the alley network, in response to feedback from the Continental condominium, we've incorporated textured paving with decorated stamped asphalt that will be aesthetically pleasing and will help calm traffic. We've also added a crosswalk connecting the north egress door of the Continental to the sidewalk that is north of the Vermont alley in response to input from the Continental. And while we're in the alley area, I'd like to note that we've confirmed that there is continuous grade elevation where the sidewalks meet the driveways for Vermont Alley and Fairfax Alley. As you can see from the plans, we have reconfigured the ground floor with 2 separate residential lobbies and 2 elevator cores. And we've relocated the west retail space from North Vermont Street to Fairfax Drive. This offers a potential opportunity to program the building with 2 residential experiences, one for the podium portion of the building on the first 10 floors, and another for the upper floors. We also think this change enhances the west retail space to be more marketable and successful with full frontage on Fairfax Drive. We see a potentially unique opportunity to incorporate a boutique condominium program with larger family-sized units into the upper floors of the project, while maintaining more efficiently sized rental apartments on the lower floors. I will share more about this potential plan towards the end of the presentation, but should we pivot to this approach in the future, we think we could accommodate about 59 condominiums with an emphasis on 2 and 3 bedroom units, in addition to approximately 182 rental apartments, altogether totaling 241 units. It is a very difficult market to finance any residential development project at this time, whether rental or condo, and especially for high-rise construction, which is more expensive to build. We would like to keep our options open to do either the all-rental scheme that we filed with 302 units or a hybrid scheme with a mix of condos and rentals with 241 units. We know that there is a shortage of homeownership opportunities in Northern Virginia, particularly in new condominium housing stock, and that there is a strong desire for that. We would be thrilled to build this if we could finance it. And following approval of the site plan, we would work closely with potential lenders and capital partners to find out which strategy is most viable to execute. Right now, as proposed and filed, the building is designed as an all-rental project with 302 efficiently designed units, but we would like flexibility down the line to accommodate the hybrid scheme and shift internal floor plans around to allow for the larger condo units on the upper floors. If we go for the hybrid scheme with a mix of condos and rental apartments, we would ask the county to amend the site plan, probably through an administrative change, to change the internal layouts and reflect a lower unit count. If we were to stay with an all-rental scheme, we may also pursue an administrative change to adjust internal layouts and revert to a single core and single lobby as is common. Next slide, please. With this programmatic change in the future potential, we see a greater need for on-site parking. In our recent submission of plans, we have added a third level of garage parking. This is an increase of 40 garage parking spaces compared to the plans we presented at the first SPRC meeting. The parking count now totals to 132 parking spaces at the site, comprised of 128 spaces in the garage and 4 surface parking spaces. So, to summarize, we are proposing a building with 3 levels of parking, 302 units, and 2 elevator cores that would set the building up for an administrative pivot that would allow a mix of rentals and condos. If we pursue condos in a hybrid scheme, we would likely want to switch layouts for the upper floors to have fewer but larger units. If we remain with an all rental scheme, we would likely want to revert to a single lobby and single elevator core scheme. We have the hybrid scheme floor plans available today to show everyone for reference at the end of the presentation. Slide. Now for the fun stuff. Here are our new renderings. We have made some minor refinements to the facade since our last meeting that we think elevates the design and positions the building well for either the all rental scheme or the hybrid condo/rental scheme. The changes are somewhat subtle in the renderings and are more evident on the following elevation slides, but we think the adjustments made will greatly enhance the aesthetics of the building. On the northern elevation, we are looking to lighten up the metal panel material color palette a bit, and we've reduced some of the color contrasts. We've minimized the precast on the northern facade, removing the frame that used to be around the north facade module. We extended the composition of the facade on floors 3 through 22 down to the second floor to streamline the look and add more grounding to the facade design, with the main facade landing at the top of the first floor instead of the top of the second floor. I should have mentioned at the beginning of this that the left image is the before, and the right image is the present. Okay. With the shift in the west retail space to front Fairfax Drive, we've also made some adjustments to the ground floor. On the south elevation, we've added more detail to the precast, which should elevate the design and improve the aesthetics, breaking up what might otherwise seem more monolithic. As we've worked through floor plans some more, we've found that it functions better to include windows at the western portion of the south-facing facade. This is in the upper half of the building, which again enhances the aesthetic appearance from the exterior. On the ground floor, at the locations of the doors to the transformer area on the left side, we've replicated the design of the loading dock glass door in response to feedback from county staff. We've heard feedback regarding concerns of potential sun reflectivity, both at the first SPRC meeting and from the Continental to our south. We've done some research with our design team and glass manufacturer on this topic. Reflective glare issues typically manifest when using glazing that has a 20% or greater exterior reflectivity. We will not be doing that. Instead, we will be specifying low reflective glass with exterior reflectivity of less than 20%, which will reduce solar reflectivity and mitigate glare. On the east elevation, we've increased the amount of glass for the retail space on the ground floor, which should greatly enhance the marketability of retail at this corner. We've introduced a fluted design to the precast on the main east facade. And again, we've added more detail to the precast on the rear portion of this facade. On the base of the building, on the west elevation, we've introduced the fluted precast design in the vertical facade. And with the addition of a second lobby entrance and the shift in the west retail space to Fairfax, we've made some adjustments to the ground floor of the west facade. Lastly, similar to the south facade, we've opened up windows in the upper portion of the west facade towards the back, which we found works best for the unit layouts. This will look much nicer from the outside of the building as well. In this slide, you'll see the residential floor plans for the all rental scheme, which were included in our filing. These plans continue to manage towards 302 units as was presented in the first SPRC meeting. However, these plans show a second elevator core with different demising wall locations to accommodate that core. Here's the 10th floor plan, which includes the mid-building amenities. With the change to the elevator cores, we have adjusted the configuration of the amenity space, and we think it flows much better. We've also added some planters at the pool deck with the intent of growing vines on the trellis structure, which adds more greenery and beauty to the space and increases a sense of privacy between the pool deck and the Continental. On the penthouse floor, again, we've improved the configuration and flow of the amenity space with the adjustment to the stairwell and elevator locations. The roof plan is largely similar. The stair bulkhead position is adjusted with the change of the corners. Here's a bird's eye view of the landscaping across the site. We've made a great effort to add planters to our roof deck and 10th floor amenity deck to maximize the tree coverage and landscaped areas around the site and to emphasize native and pollinator-friendly plant species throughout our landscape design. At our last meeting, we were asked to look into the total landscaped area, as Peter alluded to in his presentation earlier. As we mentioned in our statement of justification, if the site were assessed on its own, the total landscaped area would be over 15%, representing a robust amount of landscaping. But since we are calculating based on the COA portion of the overall Arlington Gateway site plan, which as it exists has a 5.71% landscaped area, our plan brings the landscaped area to 6.85%. We are requesting a modification of the 10% landscape requirement. While we are not planning to participate in Arlington's Green Building Incentive Program, we are planning to obtain LEED Gold certification, which requires many green initiatives, including environmentally friendly material selections, construction waste management, energy efficiency, water efficiency, indoor air quality, and high-performance building envelope design. We heard at the last meeting how much the community and the county staff value bird-friendly glass, and we are including that on the second and third floors of the building. We will be mindful of reducing light pollution when selecting exterior light fixtures. We are including EV charging in our parking garage and will include EV chargers at 4% of our total parking spaces. 15% of our parking spaces will be EV ready. As mentioned earlier, we will be emphasizing the use of native and pollinator-friendly plant species in our landscape designs. Thank you for that. Should I go into the
Yeah, let's show them real quick.
All right.
That would be cool. So we can show some floor plans here that compare for you what the alternative would be. And the idea is that during construction, well, really during permitting and financing, we would determine which option could really work. And then we would go back and apply to the county for ideally an administrative change we've done this before. There's precedent for when the density of the building is regulated by GFA and FAR, not by unit count. There's not really a unit count that we're tied to. And so the county also is agnostic on whether something's condo or rental. This would simply be a change to the size of various rooms within the building. And potentially other smaller changes to the elevator port, et cetera. But go ahead, John.
Sure. So floors 2 to 10, left is 2 to 9, on the right is level 10. These are the same from one scheme to the next, based on what has been filed recently. So this is where the rental scheme would be. The 10th floor has amenities and some apartments. And when you go to the floors 11 through 21, we're thinking about 5 units per floor, all 2 and 3 bedroom units. And then floor 22 would have around 4 units. That's a weird graphic, but I'm not sure what happened there. On the left, it's 4 units, again, 2 and 3 bedrooms, a little bit bigger because it's the top floor. And then the amenity level would match between the 2 schemes as filed today. So we think this is a really unique opportunity and would be a wonderful location for it as well.
That concludes our presentation.
Great. All right. So we're gonna go right into it. We're gonna start with public space and landscaping. Now that we,
Public comment?
public comment. Oh my God. Okay, right. All right, that was my whole idea. Anyway, so we're gonna do public comment now. We're gonna start with in-person. You signed up for in-person public comment?
Oh, I had the name.
Sorry,
It's fine.
Dennis
Orsini.
Dennis Orsini.
In person.
In person, you'll go first. You got 2 minutes. And, you can do whatever you want.
Hello, my name is Dennis Orsini. I'm a resident at the Continental, and my units will face the construction in the future. I just want to say that full duration of the proposed construction hours would be very disruptive to my life and a bit onerous if it lasted the proposed all the way till 9 p.m. every night. That's a concern for me. The other concern is just as a layperson, I'm aware the soil in the area sometimes sinks a bit. And I just want to ensure that the future construction is done safely, that there's not going to be a risk to where I live at present. It's just engineered wise, it's done safely. It's just that and the construction hours. That's my main concern.
Thank you. Should I be responding to comments as they come or?
Not public comment section.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Bernie Byrne, I believe, is the second and final public commenter online. Dr. Byrne, your office.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay, thank you. I commend the applicant and its landscape architect, Parker Rodriguez, for the proposed plant palette in the conceptual land use plan. The palette's 60 species includes common milkweed, which is the only plant that frequently supports monarch butterfly caterpillars in Arlington's natural areas. The species also include sassafras, buttonbush, and spicebush, each of which support many native pollinators. There are only 2 species that are not native to Arlington and its vicinity, but they are native to the United States. Some cultivars do not feed pollinators or are toxic to insects. The plant palette does not contain any cultivars except for an American elm that appears to be more resistant to Dutch elm disease than its parent is. This is good. Every site plan that you review should have a plant palette that is beneficial to the county's environment as this one. Again, I commend the applicant and hope that other applicants can do the same thing because there's really no reason they can't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Byrne.
Do you really have?
I do.
So this is.
We have one more.
I think we
have one more online. Saul Phoenix.
Hi, good evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
Sure can.
Yes.
Thank you for confirming. My name is Sol Phoebus. I'm a resident of the Continental. My biggest concerns are related to the construction hours, of course. I've been living in this area for a very long time, and I have enjoyed how quiet and peaceful it is. The proximity of this development will certainly affect my well-being, peace of mind, and just desire to stay at my home. I don't rent. I am an owner. The hours, again, are truly concerning. I work during the day and I also have a night job. This means that my livelihood will be affected. I would like this to be considered and also for the developer to put themselves in our shoes, those who may have to vacate their homes so that they can have a pleasant way of living and not disruptive, and they can function like they should during this time. That is all that I had. Thank you for listening, and I really hope that this gets taken in consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I misspoke earlier. Our first topic is actually going to be the changes from the first SPRC to the second, specifically the sort of hybrid condo. Commissioner Beckman, take it away.
Yeah. For staff first, 30 some years of residential real estate, I haven't seen this too much. So the mix of the two, is that something that the county has seen? I'm just curious.
Not recently. I mean, it's not unprecedented either.
Okay, very
We
good.
have two examples, Waterview and Alta Vista, where there's hotels on the lower floor and condos on the upper floor, or vice
Okay.
versa.
Very good. So to the applicant, how is this gonna work? Because typically when you have a condo building, when all the units are sold, then it's owned by the condo group. The landlord, the owner is out of it. So it's not gonna work like that this time. What do you really own at the end of the day as a condo owner? Do you just own the floor? What do you own? Because that's kind of a
Sure.
strange.
So just as some background, we have done a similar mix of hotel on the bottom and apartment or condos on the top in Miami recently. It's the hotel pad, and it's been very successful and this is different. This is rental apartments and forced housing. So a condo owner would own their unit just like any other unit. It is likely that the structure would be that the apartment building would be its own condominium, and then owned by a single property owner, just like any other apartment building is owned. And then the condominium owners, the 59 of them, would each own their own units. And there would be a reciprocal easement agreement between the two, between the condominium structure of the condo and then the condominium structure of the apartment building, saying that each of them can access certain areas, which one governs it, if there's certain areas where one governs over the other, what the annual budget is that each pays towards those areas, and then within each space, there would be individual common areas that are specific to that building, like the lobby for each would be its own budget and own common areas that are not shared. The elevators would not necessarily be shared, although I think the one going all the way up and down is needed for fire access, so it actually stops on every floor. And then the common roof deck on 10 would be shared by both. The roof deck on the top, you could go either way. That could be exclusive for the condo portion or not, or shared by both. Yeah. So
Can I continue for a second? So, all right, so there's a condo board that would be for the condo folks. So normally the condo boards sort of like are in charge of everything, but there has to be some sort of incredible coordination between one to the other, because you're not your sole entity. You are, I mean, there are things that are affecting you as a condo owner that are larger to the whole, place. So it just seems like that would be an incredible amount of.
There likely would be a master condominium for the whole thing that would have a board seat for the owner of the apartment building and a few board seats for the condominium building. There'd be votes that are representative based on the percentage ownership of the building, and these are details that are beyond.
I'm just curious because some people, when they're buying into a condo, believe that they would then, some people don't care anything about the board, or others are very invested in it. So it seems like from a sale point, you'll have to let your people know.
Sure. Yeah, it'd be in the offering.
how that really works, because it's not gonna work in a typical fashion.
Right.
And can I just ask one more thing? Okay, so we're being asked here, when it ultimately comes to planning commission, we're being asked to suggest to the county board that they approve two versions?
No, there's only one version
Okay,
of plans that is going to happen. If they decide to revert back to the all rental function
okay,
and remove a level of parking, they're most likely going to need a site plan amendment to do that.
and that was gonna be my next question, then that has to be a process again.
And there would be a process involved in that. But what we had advised to them is, let's not do alternatives in that sense, like your plan A and plan.
Yeah, no, we can't.
Ask for the most that you want right now. So this is the most
Thank you.
parking, the most units.
Okay.
We'd be happy to have two plans approved. if
Oh, no,
that's
no,
needed.
no.
We,
We tried, we
tried.
pushed it pretty hard, I gotta tell you.
So you're
We have existing mechanisms, like I said, the admin change, et cetera, and precedent that allows things to be changed as long as they are consistent with the spirit of the original approval. Shifting floor plans that don't have any impact whatsoever on the exterior of the building, the size of the building. Parking even, that is relatively straightforward. For example, in a building that's regulated similarly, GFA only, I think I did an admin change years ago for Dweck where we had a bunch of laundry rooms. They all became units instead because all the units got little laundry units inside of them. And so we've done things like that administratively. If for whatever reason the zoning administrator decided that the board needed to hear it, it would be a minor amendment. And quite frankly, that's not scary. The board would approve it and it would happen probably within 2 or 3 months anyways. So it's not the end of the world either way. The admin change is easier. That mechanism is there, but yeah.
Okay, so your hand and we'll go to.
Perfect. I have two. One, a little response to your comment on the condominium and an apartment ownership from an HOA perspective. We have something similar generally with the Continental, where it's a little more traditional, where we have our building, but all the shared common area is part of an easement agreement with the shared property owners, the office building and the hotel next door, because it's one parking garage for all three. It's one single structure, and then with the buildings on top. And it does work. And it's really up to the relationships that you have with the other ownership, and who's in charge. In our scenario, the office building's in charge. But one comment on the plan more towards the staff related to the surface parking in this dual scenario, especially. I brought this up last time, but when you have two residential lobbies, you have double the places for Ubers, for pickup drivers, for everyone to congregate on top of the metro. And from our experience and our perspective, both of those, they're about 3 spots each, would need to be entirely short-term parking. Because there's simply not enough space for any long-term parking, and the demand for short-term parking is extraordinary in this area.
So it's all of Vermont, right?
All of Vermont, and then the Fairfax Drive, there's 3 spots in front of that entrance as well.
Jim, thanks.
When do we comment on the outstanding issues that Peter raised? He said there's at the very end of his presentation of 3 items, and I was wondering about the loading dock issue. When would we raise
Do
that?
that and wrap up.
Yeah.
Let's try to have
We'll
a
do
wrap
that
up.
later. I think.
At the end, okay. I
Just
just, because I do I have some questions about that.
Okay.
Make sure it's covered.
Okay. You have your hand up? Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to the condo aspect of this. I agree, it's a little complicated. You definitely have to make sure you figure out who's accountable when there's issues that arise, things like that. But I think in general, conceptually, we're very interested in having more home ownership and interested in exploring how to make that happen. And so, I think if there's a way to make that happen, that's probably a good thing. So just wanted to provide that input, and with the caveat that you got to sort out all these complicated issues about who's responsible for what. So
To us, those are the easy issues. The hard one is getting financing and getting somebody who's willing to build it. Because John has told me, and I've heard this from other developers, that it's harder to find folks who are willing to build condos because of liability concerns, harder to find people to finance it. But there's demand, right? There's interest. And so that's why maybe this is something that will help, because you need, and if you're bold enough, maybe you can win.
Thank you. Is it time to discuss the affordable housing?
No.
Okay, well then from a housing standpoint, the condominium I strongly encourage would be great. I live at the Waterview also, and as Peter would indicate, it was originally a 23-story hotel. Market changed and they turned it into a 30-story building where the top 20 are condominiums and the bottom 10 are the Meridian Hotel. We're over a parking garage with 3 different ownerships, the Deloitte building, and our building and the hotel. So it kind of works. The condo board is 4 members of the condo and 1 member of the hotel as a condo unit. The rental unit would pay like their condo fee, et cetera. So that stuff all works. I would encourage the home ownership is very important. And I understand developers don't make as much money on condominiums because a rental project is like an annuity forever. But I think in this market and in the county, we're doing a lot on the rental side, but not enough on the condominium. And we have 1 condominium being proposed right now on Langston Boulevard, which is the old Air Force thing. So I strongly encourage you and hopefully it's a unique building. It's a great location for condominiums. So I wish you luck.
Thank you. Thanks for support. Torre.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit disappointed to hear that you're thinking about having exclusive access for the condos at the amenities at the top and then against the renters at the bottom. I like the idea of having the apartments and condos, but I don't like the idea of inequity within the building already built in from the get-go. So I would even go as far as to say, since you can't have as much green space in the lower level, I know that other buildings, for example, sometimes if they have a pool, they allow the public around to be able to use the pool at a fee, and they use that money to maintain the pool. So if you're already building these beautiful green spaces where, maybe you can get some revenue from it, allowing not just the people in the building, but the people that live around to be able to use it. I would love that idea.
I just wanted to get a sense if you have a sense of the rough market price that you'd be expecting for the 2 and 3 bedroom condos.
I don't at this time.
Ballpark, like $50 each, because I'll sign up now.
I mean,
If he's doing that, I'm.
If you see market prices, some of the 2 bedrooms are like 1,200 square foot, the 3 bedrooms are bigger, so. Market demands. It's been a while since new condo products markets, I'm not sure.
I mean, your finance plans and all that, you haven't worked that out as part of the.
My colleague has that.
It's much easier to get like price per square foot for rental nearby, right? The prevailing rental rates, if you can like look up on CoStar anytime, so it's easier to share.
Any other comments? Oh, yes.
Yeah, I saw that you added a layer of parking. I'm kind of curious because I feel like the first SPRC, we probably spent like 30 minutes congratulating on that low parking rate, and now that's gone way up. So like, is that still, I guess, half question for you, is that still within the allowed parking ratio?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, so in Arlington County, there's a parking requirement, which is a 1 space and a quarter of a space or an eighth of a space or whatever per unit.
Actually, in this district, one.
Oh, thank you. That's right.
Yes.
A lot of
COA.
So we have a 1 per unit parking requirement. And so then we ask the county to modify that and ask for a, reprieve from the rules of the zoning ordinance to be able to provide less. And so it's usually just a matter of like, how much less are you proposing than is required? Here, I think it has a lot to do with the potential for,
Yeah, I mean, if we had the option of presenting 2 different plans, it might be a different garage, but we were advised sort of present the maximum and then pull back. But the pulling back on parking would be a minor amendment, another what is proving to be a year-long process. So I think more likely that we would have to do a garage. We'd be happy to do 2 levels, but with the condos, I think it's already a little challenging to do the program that we're showing with 128 garage spaces. I think that's still pretty bold presented.
I'll just add from the staff perspective, they're requesting a parking reduction based on their proximity to the metro. So there's different tiers. They're in the 0.2 tier, which is the lowest, 0.2 per unit. And before you're at 0.28, around there. And now with this calculation, they're at like 0.4. So they're still within above the minimum or for the minimum maximum, I guess, 0.2 you can do, and well below what
Below
the
what the
zoning
zoning
ordinance,
ordinance
which is
requires,
one space.
It's also one of the lowest parking ratios you see these days. I mean, I think I've done some other buildings that are close to 0.3. I've done close to that, but it's usually you're seeing people at 0.7 or even 0.8 because for leasability or sales or whatever, they're just, you want the parking because it does help lease units.
Right. Moving on, I'm going to do Commissioner Flores, and then we're going to move on to the next topic, if that's okay.
Yes, I believe this would apply because it was noted in the changes, but with the change of the parking ratio of the 5 EV spots that will be present day one, are there any that are handicap accessible?
I don't remember.
Which spaces were you talking about, Mr. Commissioner Flores?
Happy to make one. We could locate one of the spaces to a handicap that's not there presently.
Yes, yes. And this usually comes up after approval, but there's new legislation out at the state level that dictates no less than 1 and then other percentages of EV spaces need to be handicap in muds like this.
Happy to do that.
All right, we're going to move on to the public space around here, and if we are done early, we'll come back if I saw a couple minutes, just for the sake of time. Public space and landscape. Does anyone have any thoughts?
We're doing both at the same time.
Yeah. All right. Oh, Jill, that's like.
Okay. First of all, I'm very confused as to the 6% and the 10%. Can you just say that slower, maybe?
Sure. Okay, so there's an overall site plan that we are a part of, have been a part of since 2006.
Okay.
It includes, following me up this wrong, but I think it includes the condominium, the Arlington Gateway office building, and the Western Hotel. A portion of all of that site plan is in the COA zone.
That helps a lot, that map up on the screen.
Yeah. So,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's what COA means?
Yeah.
yeah, so this entire continental, the western, that's all one site. According to
This is all supposed to have 10% landscape, 10%. It hasn't since 2006.
How many buildings?
And
It 4?
Never.
1, 2, 4 buildings.
Here, and the GW building.
Our
And the
building
GW building
is
is zoned different.
15%.
Yes.
Like what we're
Right now?
improving is 15. No, what we're proposing with our improved new project is 15% landscaping.
On your building only?
Yeah, we can't,
Okay.
and we
Okay.
wouldn't do anything to everything else that's been there for 20 years
Okay.
plus. But our point is just a lot of that, the fact that we're below 10% site plan wide is really because of decisions that were made 20 years ago, and we're exceeding 10% on our site. There is no way that we could do anything with our site unless it was literally just landscaping to change that percentage to 10%
So
across
the
the site plan.
vocabulary word site plan in this case doesn't mean your site, it means all of these 4
Yep,
buildings.
because we're part of a multi-building
That's what I was
plan.
getting.
Yeah.
In the
Somebody,
building across.
I think it was JBG or someone like that on all of it.
It was
20
JBG.
years ago.
Yeah.
And it got all of it entitled, and ours was the last phase.
So the 7% is what's there now?
There's 5.7% there now.
Okay.
Amongst the COA portion of it, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, it's
It's on
also,
the site
That's all,
plan.
everything COA?
Everything the site plan, yeah. Everything the site plan right now is 5.7%.
The 4 building site plan.
Yes.
The
Okay.
5 building site.
But yeah, this is
With
building
the
across the
GW
street.
building
Does
across
it
the
include
street
the
as
one
well.
across the street? Different, doesn't have.
well, then that's the distinction of why we said the COA.
Yeah, so within the COA
Yeah.
district, it's
Thank you.
5.71%.
Because it's the George Washington building is on CO 2.5, which doesn't have.
Okay, but you're,
Yes, yeah.
but we're not using the word site plan, but your building would have 15%.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's
Most
the
of
big.
that is on our land of the old site. Most of that new
Your
green
land?
space.
So,
Continental?
okay, so adding another layer, we have a surface.
Maybe I don't need to know this. I don't know.
I think
Okay,
it's fun.
It is interesting.
Our site where it's dotted is technically our land. And then the area south and east of the dotted line between our building and the Continental, and then between our building, green line to the right, is actually owned by the Continental with a surface easement for our building.
Okay.
Underneath a good portion of that area is a underground parking garage that serves the Continental and some other uses. On top of it, we have surface parking today, and there's a alley network that also has a fire lane easement with the county. And we have rights to use those for surface parking, landscaping, driveways, access to our building, and we're working within all of the rights that are laid out in an existing easement. So our landscaping, you can see on the screen now, the trees and the both sides on the streetscape, the plant area by the elevators, and then that's all either on our property or in the public realm, I don't remember. And then on the very right, that's within Continental land that we have the surface easement. And then the very bottom, the pet run is actually not counting in the calculation that we've put together.
Okay.
And then the trees above it are, I believe, on the Continental land.
Yeah.
But on our surface easement.
Okay, so with the dotted line enhanced, so what do we have with that? Is that the 15%? Does the 15% include the stuff that's on their property?
Some of it would,
Yes.
yeah, because it's part of our project and what we're maintaining and building.
So it's not more
It's
than.
considered like what we are disturbing. I think that's how we.
Yeah, that was, okay, fine, that helps. Okay, that helps a lot.
It's
Okay.
also complicated because it was a single owner 20 plus years ago, and then they get everything entitled. They start to build some of it, they start to sell some of it. And when you do that, you create these schemes with a lot of cross easements so that everybody can independently function
Okay.
time. And what's odd here is that this got left behind basically, and due to delays with the metro, due to all kinds of problems over the many years, never got built. And now we're coming back to actually build it. And so we have these odd situations that come up.
Okay, but I think it's very creative, and I have to say, Dr. Byrne is right, commendable that you have figured out a way to maximize the landscaping by building on top of a parking garage, because what else is gonna happen there except parking? So I think that's commendable. So 15% on such a site like this is not that bad. It's not anywhere near the 40% goal or the 35% MCOG. So, if you want to think about community benefits, maybe I'm jumping ahead. I would think that you would consider making contributions to the tree canopy fund, because what you've got here is you're right in the heat island. And anything that you can do to alleviate that, especially in that neighborhood, would be helpful. So that's what I have to say about the landscaping. I'm very pleased that Dr. Byrne approves it, because that makes my job a lot easier. And
Just have to text everyone and tell them that happened.
it's my milkweed.
I have milkweed. I have milkweed growing in front of my house, and I like.
Is it common milkweed?
Milkweed, and I refuse to remove it, and it just spreads. So now it's everywhere.
It's a good thing to
Back to
have
butterflies, it really
near
works.
the street. That's where I have mine. I wanted to ask about the glazing and the bird-friendly glass. Is this the right time for that?
We'll keep that to the next section.
And then I wanted to, let's see. All right, let me just check my notes. We got native plantings. What is your maintenance program for the green roof? Oh, and the trellis. I love that idea. I love the vines.
Got a credit right for that one.
Is that gonna be a native,
Yeah,
native
we've
vine?
done a lot of similar structures. We've done with coral honeysuckle. There's the vines grow quickly, so that's a good thing to cover.
Yeah.
But, basic maintenance, all landscaping requires maintenance.
And so you've got water systems that are gonna be able to water that. It's not gonna dry up and look ugly.
We'll do a water management plan. We haven't gotten to that level of detail, but it'll either be hostas or irrigation.
Yeah, all right. And there's not gonna be any landscaping on the front of the building like we were talking about, in terms of
No,
vines.
we didn't think
Okay.
of it.
I'll tell you guys that I do think that the climbers, et cetera, it's one of the tougher things I've ever seen attempted as far as maintenance and health of it.
Maintenance is an issue, yeah. And I like the pavers. I appreciate that, going in. Okay, I think that's all I have until we get to the glass.
All right. Okay. You're on.
Okay, I actually have a couple of issues with the project. What is the tree canopy coverage? You guys know?
Yeah, I can pull up the number for you. I know it's like 10% at least.
All right, well, let's just work.
Yeah.
With 10%. So the Boston sector plan doesn't have any tree canopy. It's an old plan. But we have come out with the Forestry and Natural Resources plan. And as Joe was saying, our targets now are higher. We're asking for in the commercial setting 25%. And this is never going to be a site where you're going to have variable forests. I grant you that. But I am disappointed with the tree coverage that you have because it looks like it's only street trees. Did you look at putting any on the roof or any other kind of placement of trees?
Well, I mean, technically there is some on the garage in the front near the pet park. That is their structure.
I would urge you to look for other opportunities because the gap between what we're asking for these things, what you're offering. Is really large.
What is it?
That's 4,056 square feet. I need to put the percentage, it's not shown on here, but we are exceeding the 15% requirement.
The 15% landscape.
The
canopy coverage
So it's 50, tree canopy required, 15% is 3,202.
And we're proposing 40, yeah, 4,000.
15, around 15%.
More than that.
More, so,
You said 50% was landscape.
Yeah.
so for tree canopy coverage, there's a 15% tree canopy
Calculation,
coverage.
tree
requirement.
canopy and landscaped area, two separate things. So landscaped area was the 15% figure we just discussed. Tree canopy, they are quickly looking up for Mr. Rockwell here.
21.36.
Okay, so that's one thing. The other issue I have is the plaza.
I think we're about 19%.
19%.
I think so, actually.
It's better than. But I would still urge you to look for opportunities. Yeah, the other issue is the plaza. So what guidance there is from the sector plan calls for the 150 square feet of grass and the one tree. Yeah, obviously they didn't contemplate a French screen or metro elevators. And what I get is an image of a fairly bucolic sort of space. And I would suggest that rather than trying to sort of rigorously apply this whole plan, you look for more opportunities to apply the spirit of what I take to be the purpose, which is adding more green in general. For example, the area between the street trees. As far as I can tell, that's impervious surface. So right?
I don't know if we called it out, but it could be permeable pavers.
Yeah, permeable pavers are even in grass. It seems to me that your architecture is very handsome, but it's also somewhat austere in the sense of not being green or welcoming. So I would look for opportunities to add some more.
Okay. Let's just take a look at this because I want to respond to that in a productive way, but also let's show you where our plans are coming from because I do value. I think as you've seen from some comments in our response, we do value the greenery. We used to have a planter box of like basically half the length, maybe a third of the length of our front facade in front of the building, which we received some mixed feedback from. We removed that. So that sort of, it was intended to make the plaza more bucolic and that it would wrap both ends of it. sort of be immersed between landscaping. But we took that out in part for response, but also in part because we now have that space and for it to be successful. Along Fairfax Drive, we have a series of trees. The left half of that is a bus drop-off and pickup zone, a bus stop. So we have to meet certain requirements for people to be able to traverse to the curb, stand there, wait for a bus, and safely go back and forth and meet accessibility. So we're a little limited what we can do there. To the right and left of the driveway, on the right side of the page, we have incorporated grass, and we've incorporated grass to the right of the driveway. And then there's like 2 or 3 parking spaces that are going to need access for people to get to and from their cars between the trees. I'm happy to do permeable pavers. I've done that in the past, as long as there's a way to set them up where they're not like sort of some of them caving in and being unbalanced. I'm open to that. And same thing with Vermont. And yeah, so that's.
The only other plug I'll put in is if permeable pavers are at all an issue from like creating the unevenness that we used to have with some like more cobblestone type pavement on sidewalks across the county, we shy away from doing that now for accessibility purposes. And given that we have a front door to a rental building there, we have retail that needs to be accessible. That is a concern. Doesn't mean that we couldn't add some or do something, and we'll look at it. I just want to note that for everybody that we do need to make sure that we've got something that we know is going to be safe for folks who have mobility issues.
Go to the lobby level slide. Here.
I think
Driving right there.
Somebody's fine.
So I was gonna comment that, if you notice there, you're addressing the landscaping outside, but now that you're having these 2 big lobby areas, it would be beautiful if maybe you can carve into them a little bit and provide more green space so that when people are walking by the building, they are welcomed by like both sides of green space, but also start thinking about the lobby areas as part of the landscaping, even with just lanterns when you show it.
Sure.
Because it would be not only beautiful and different, but also, it would add to.
We love incorporating indoor plants,
Yeah,
planting as well.
blending in that
We've
inside.
also made an effort to put planters just outside the lobby to sort of your first experience is walking past plants every time you go in and out of the doors. I don't want to characterize these as large lobbies though. I'm actually nervous that we're not going to be able to fit everything we need in a lobby space with mailroom and front desk, package room. These are very small lobbies.
Even if you were to recess, like.
They are. They're very, and an apartment building is also typically needs a leasing office. So
The point
they're
is
small.
to incorporate the greenery though, and certainly on the inside, because we don't do interior design until just, building the thing, but that's a good point. Package rooms especially. And
that's
so
I've had
so much
package rooms the
space.
entire size.
You can have a package room that's like the whole first floor now.
It doesn't even have to be a planter, and it could be like a wall of
Sure.
greenery.
Yes.
That will definitely add a lot to it. And even if you could just see it from the outside, it makes such a huge difference.
Yes, it's a great idea. We'll
And then- This is more for the county. I'm wondering, I've never seen this in this part of Arlington, at least. Is there a possibility to have like a cafe in the upper levels of the community areas? Or maybe even like adding a penthouse for like restaurants or cafes or something like that?
That's generally not something we recommend. Everything retail should be at the ground level and easily accessible. Rooftop restaurants especially have not been successful. They're very popular in the 70s, and we have numerous examples where they no longer exist, like Prospect House, Quality Inn, Pentagon City. So I assume these retail spaces might end up, at least one of them, a food facility, and they have a plaza there in which they, if they follow the outdoor cafe licensing rules, they'd be able to have outdoor cafes in these plazas.
Even if it's something that even the people in the unit in the building can use, but also people outside can access.
Security is a major concern for most residential developers. I'll tell you that, and it's public facilities Rooftops are, again, not a thing from an urban design perspective that we recommend anymore.
That's sad because they're putting most of the effort into those areas.
And then we're gonna move on to sustainability.
So just quickly add, I think that part of what's interesting about this conversation are the challenges of having two different lobbies. In a way, it kind of reinforces the arguments against having this class separation between the renters and the condo. You'd have a lot more flexibility, opportunities to do, some of these things and more accessibility to the features. It seems like just from a building perspective, it gives you more flexibility rather than leaning into this odd breakage between the parts of the residence.
I can promise you that the rental units in this building will be quite nice. There's not going to be a clear class distinction between the people in the two, but like functionally, it does need to be split because you have two separate.
Yeah, it goes to one of the earlier points of like how to manage the two entities, and there would be common areas within each structure, and also a hook to buy a premium condominium at a high floor. Special about it.
Just to give a little bit of pushback on that, I think you'll find that Arlington is not like other places where we want so much exclusivity. Either way, people will filter in one way or another. But also we're at a point in technology where the receptionist or the elevator itself or the key fob can give access to certain floors, even if you have just one lobby. So I think the internet would be beneficial.
Yeah, I'll try to be
These
quick.
last two, and then we're gonna move on.
Regarding the tree canopy, appreciate that you guys are trying to put trees. Make sure a lot of times that developers end up not having as many trees as they say they're going to. So just be mindful of that. And if there's ways to add more, that would be great. That's something that we really care about. Appreciate the 15% landscaping total. I feel like I know the public space it's not in the sector plan, but again, the sector plan is old. It's the year I was born. So we would still like to have public space as possible. This green space is nice. It's not public space to use. So that would be a concern that we would have. So, but otherwise, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Clarification, the two lobbies are only if you go with the condominium?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yes,
the
however,
two elevator bays are also if you go with the condominium?
That's the intent.
Okay, if you go with the rental, it would be one elevator.
We would administratively change it to a.
Okay, the two elevator, but that's gonna significantly increase your cost, but you could make it up, I guess, with the condominium units. Are there gonna be two elevators in each elevator bay?
Yes.
Where is the commercial elevator?
Commercial elevator?
Usually have a commercial elevator for trash.
Sorry. Yes, it's called a freight elevator. Each bank would have one freight and one passenger. And both lobbies,
Okay, so
buildings would have access to the loading dock, as would the freight elevators.
one thing you may want to consider, at the Waterview, we have one lobby. The hotel is the first 10 and the condo is the top 20, same elevator bay. And it's by fob and stuff like that. You may want to consider something like that. It would reduce your costs.
And it kind of gets to the sort of two class situation.
Right.
As well. So anyway, we're gonna move on to green building sustainability. I understand you had a question about bird friendly glass.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to hear.
Glass.
Well, I'd like to hear more about the bird-friendly glass that you propose, especially also the exterior lighting. I mean, what components are you talking about? Maybe?
Sure. So we've studied more about bird-friendly glass, and the requirements in the Green Building Incentive Program would be to have it go
8 to
35 feet. We looked at our facade. The starting point of 8 feet is like a couple feet shy of the top of our ground floor. So you'd have retail glass, and then whatever the height is of that floor, and then just a few feet at the top that falls into that zone. We didn't think that was economically the best use of increased construction dollars to do that floor, but the second and third floor, we're happy to do bird glass on. And
It would be a product that complies with the county's green building incentive program requirements. And
Okay.
with all of these, they're always looking at options and have something in mind. But once you go to build, you're looking hopefully to even see better product, right? That's maybe less expensive, et cetera.
Yeah,
All
it's
of this
developing all.
maturing.
Yeah.
And the more that everybody across the country has to do this, the better it is for communities like ours, where it's the expectation. We struggle sometimes with just costs in general, and it's because Arlington is very progressive. We're kind of on the forefront of New York, where they've also done a lot of work. That's great, right? This developer knows how to do it. But they have to choose the product later, the exact product.
Right. Is the staff comfortable with are you willing to say if you're comfortable with the last proposal?
That is our minimum,
That's the minimum.
requirement. Yeah, because it's on the tree zone.
Yeah,
That's the most dangerous.
that's where most bird strikes occur. But during migration, that's where we get into the lighting issue. During migration, the birds can strike high up if they, get blinded by the light.
Right.
So you propose something about the lighting.
Yeah, we'll choose exterior light fixtures that are appropriate
They
for.
face down.
Right, yeah. Want to speak to that more specifically?
Yeah, I mean, we'll hash this out more as we develop the site plan, especially some of the pool area, things like that. But the night sky certified down lighting,
Okay.
minimizing or eliminating up lighting is the goal.
Okay. And if they say that, then that goes into the conditions, right, staff? So,
Yeah, we'll make sure that these go.
okay.
Staff.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I mean, it's good and we thank you, but we'd love to have another story or 2 stories if you can work it out financially.
It's not cheap. What we've added is already adding several $100,000 to the project.
Yeah, there's other like there's some less expensive things that you can do, hanging things in the windows and things like that. So.
Exactly.
And then when
Oh,
do I get to talk about park and rec stuff? Like how big is their fitness center? And also I got a request today to think about adding some planters for gardening, like community
Stick with the
garden.
planters now, and then we'll throw the Parks and Rec piece in at the end.
So somebody today said, we're getting a whole bunch of people from all these dense apartments who are applying for community garden spots. And there's just not enough. So what if we ask the site plan developers to come up with some community garden spots? I don't know if you could do that on the roof or on the upper floors, but there's a need, there's a lot, so something to think about. Okay, thank you.
Megan?
I want to associate myself with Jill's comments about the bird-friendly glass. Because in SPRC 1, when this came up, we are very close to Ballston wetlands. Anybody who has gone out there can see there are hawks. We occasionally get eagles that fly by. So while I understand the cost of bird-friendly glass, as stated, is very expensive, there are so many alternatives out there now. And I know with forestry and natural resources, we're working where I've asked David Howell who's the expert on this, to come up with just a list of easier things. So I would just like you to remain open to more things there, because that is because of the proximity of that. And it's not unusual to see an eagle flying by which is pretty amazing in this area. And you had mentioned that you're doing low reflective glass. What does that do to birds? How do they? Yeah, or could you have the information on this when you come to PC and?
We can think more about how does that impact birds. It's probably good.
I mean,
No, because it's actually a mirror. Low E glass is a mirror.
Okay.
Okay, well, Tom can.
So does it make?
So if we could just.
We'll sort this out before we get to PC.
Yeah, if we could just have it for
computers, not for
And if somebody could just reach out to David Howell.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would really appreciate it. We ask about this at times and it never happens, but somebody could ensure that we do that. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Know myself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we-
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm sorry I was late. I actually came here specifically to talk about a few items, including the architecture, which is probably not on the agenda, but maybe there's a comment I can make at some point. Maybe one way to think about it, though, is to reduce the amount of glass. That facade on Fairfax and that corner with Vermont, right, is a sheet of glass. And you are going to have that western summer light that is going to, basically everybody in the neighborhood is going to feel and see your light, your sun. So I'm a little concerned, it's not even the birds, it's really also the humans there. There are about 20,000 cars. I was looking up how many people, including myself, drive on Fairfax daily. You have buildings in the same architect, Pierce at the Highlands, is very articulated facade. The glass is recessed. You have white spandrels. There are ways, and they're articulated through mullions. There are ways to do this that isn't expensive glass. It's just better architecture. And I really, at some point, I'm gonna need to make a comment about that if I'm allowed. But less glass would be one way to address this issue now.
Hilton is like that.
And then we'll move on to the community benefits discussion. That's going to be a quicker sort of wrap up. Go ahead.
That's great. So I am standing in for Joe Trivette on this. He kindly provided me with both some big picture comments and then some specific questions. So buckle up. Okay, first, just some really positive appreciation that you are repurposing an underutilized office space for high density multifamily. We need more housing and we need dense housing. So that is positive for in general for the county and for energy use, especially the fact that it's so accessible to transit. Also really appreciate to see that there are many sustainability components incorporated, even though you're not asking for extra points. Including the plan to achieve LEED Gold and the possibility of this, you could get more points. And part of this is just so that you're aware, we regularly now have the county board asking us not just for a basic ranking of the buildings, but for the details, and they're asking us to show up at board hearings because they're getting and showing a lot of interest, a lot of investment, because they know Arlingtonians care a lot about these issues. A few things that are of concern in the project is it's not all electric. There's a lot of gas in the building, especially with the central HVAC and distributed air system. And I know, I saw in there some notes about more expensive or challenges with it. From our understanding, there's very cost-effective, efficient units out there to consider. There's also, concern that the costs, the costs for the residents of relying on that much gas is only going to get worse over time. We're living in an era where we're yet again reminded of energy insecurity. And so even if people didn't care about sustainability, which they do in Arlington, they care about their wallets. And locking them into gas is locking them into spending a lot of money out of their wallet. I would also say that there's a lot of broader economic benefits and community benefits to locking in an all-electric future. On the EV side of things, great to see that you're trying to put in some EV charging, but you may not be aware, but already 4% of vehicles registered in Arlington are plug-ins. As of 2022, not as of today. And sales are 6 to 8%. So you're already behind the market, and it's tougher for people in apartment buildings because they can't just install their own charger. So we recommend at least 10% EV charging, and honestly, at least 50% EV ready. You're already behind the market and the market is moving fast. And again, with gas prices where they are, people are yet again remembering, oh, right, I don't have to use gas. And this is a pretty high income area where people can afford new ones, and the used ones are now getting cheaper than the gas cars. So the accessibility of EVs is dramatically expanded from the economic spectrum. And then before I hop into the questions, I just want to flag, our scorecard is a great guide. That's what we use directly to inform the board. And so a lot of my questions are very much based on the information we need to fill out that scorecard. Because if we don't have the information, we can't give you the credit for the great stuff you're doing. And we want to give you credit for the great stuff you're doing. But if we don't have the data, if we don't have the commitments, we can't do that. Okay. And I know there's a bunch of stuff you've talked about. So on to the questions. It looks like it was saying that there's a broader sustainability document that needs to be resubmitted, but you did provide some lead information and some energy modeling information. It sounds like you're going for LEED Gold 4.0, so you're not pursuing 4.1, or are you pursuing LEED Gold 4.1? Because there are differences.
Yeah, Jake Durant, SVP. We're doing LEED B4 multifamily mid-rise, which has a testing and verification aspect to it, which we value in buildings, just to prove that things work in the building. With that program, there is no option for LEED B 4.1. It doesn't exist for the multifamily mid-rise. So it's just LEED program.
Gotcha. Okay. What are you doing about, are you going to have a construction waste diversion target? And if so, what is that target?
We are positioning for that, going after that credit for LEED. We don't have that threshold just yet.
So you are going for it, but you don't have it. Thank you. What about the LEED 5.0 prerequisite for embodied carbon? Focused on quantifying and documenting the emissions of the structure, the enclosure, the hardscape materials during construction.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we can't go way up to that credit being in the multifamily mid-rise program, but we have had conversations about embodied carbon. Once we've built this design a little bit more, we'll have further conversations and decide on what's feasible and what's not.
Okay. So it would help us as we're scoring it. Since you're going for LEED 4.0, it would really help us to have the percent energy improvement that would exist versus the 4.1 baseline. If you can provide
this LEED program is not eligible for LEED 4.1. There is no B 4.1 for multi.
There is no base. Okay, so he's just got, okay, that's helpful. Yeah. What about a HERS score?
Real quick. Just for the sake of time, could you submit these in writing to the applicant? Would you all commit to?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, we're just kind of, tech delays kind of threw us.
I understand, but I don't think sustainability should have to be, there's been
I
a lot of
agree.
detailed questions by a lot of folks about really important
I agree,
stuff,
but we
and I
still
don't
have a
think
couple of-
sustainability should be
I
shifted
agree.
because of that.
I agree, but these seem very specific to the scorecard, and so I just want to make sure we're covering community benefits, construction, and some other topics that we still have. to
Suggest too that maybe
Team
applicants should all go to C2B2, like we all go to Transportation Commission, because it's clearly important. You guys care a lot. And clearly there are
Absolutely.
members who care.
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
make everybody go.
Well,
Again,
so before we move
terribly
on,
sorry.
I do
No,
just,
sorry.
I do just want to ask about solar.
I'm sorry. Community benefits.
You guys really
We're
have
gonna-
to do better.
I'm
at
sorry.
putting sustainability
I'm
in
sorry.
this
The time,
situation.
the tech delays kind of threw
I
us.
understand.
I want to
but
get
you've
everybody
given
out on
other
time.
Sections much longer
So
time.
what we're gonna do with community benefits, we're gonna go rapid fire, your top couple of priorities, and that'll be
Thank you very much.
what we're doing. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Anyway, community benefits. Okay, so we'll start with you and we'll wrap our way around the table. Just quick priorities. What-
Okay, yeah, from the affordable housing, the CAF units or developer contribution, you don't have that factored in yet?
So for bonus density, don't have yet what we're gonna do. I don't know whether we're gonna make a contribution to affordable housing or totally to the metro, because that might help the county in the CIP critically. And if that is the need, I think we're gonna agree to do it, and that'll come from the manager's office. But I don't know. This project previously had pledged a lot of money to the Metro, like $14 million. And with the changes in the economy, the value of bonus density, there's not even 14 million in this package anymore. And so they may be looking for money to replace that. And that might take precedence over an AHIF contribution right now. That being said, AHIF is also out of money and desperately needs it. So I don't know what they're going to do, but we're probably just going to work with the manager's office on what they want and make sure it's fair and then agree to it.
Okay, that's fine. If you go on the condominium unit, I urge you to maybe look at 1 or 2 units like Key and Nash did to underwrite it so affordable people can buy into the condominium. And that would be actually something good because we're not doing enough in this county for home ownership at the bottom level. Thank you.
All right, moving on next, just.
Yeah, just real quick. I've already talked about the tree canopy equity program, which puts trees in heat islands and on private property. But I also would like to emphasize the importance of the need for park support, because when we put in these high density projects, our parks are already overused and the fields are overused and things like that. So please have that in mind as supporting the parks.
Yeah, I would say if, we talked about green space already, if it's not possible to be like on the site, if there's any way you can have some public benefit located nearby or something that would be great. And then of course, I would echo affordable housing and or Metro support is also welcome. Thanks.
I would just like to, when you get in front of PC Planning Commission, what I heard in your presentation was the larger spaces units are going to be for the condos, smaller, more efficient for the rentals. We will want to see the composition of those and also would want some of those to be family size. So curious to see that. I'm assuming that we'll get a chance, or will we not get a chance to speak about the 3 things staff?
That's what I'm trying to build in time.
Are you gonna take one of those?
For what?
Yeah.
The staff things?
Staff.
A loading dock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna get that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let him get that.
Covering that one.
Moving on.
Yes, sorry.
Oh,
It's your turn anyway.
Okay, all right.
You're gonna hate me, but it's okay. I actually just spent all day at Leadership Arlington discussing sustainability. It's the first time that they added this to the program. And what every expert said was, if you could do anything, is remove gas. Because it's not just about sustainability. Studies are starting to show that every time you turn on your gas stove, which cooks like gas stoves, it's actually you're inhaling chemicals that are bad for you. So to me, this is a community benefit. I think if you're going to provide brand new housing to people, then, it doesn't make sense to be a gold building yet have gas. My opinion.
Are you seeing? Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to comment on this condo rental project issue. I understand the gentleman's comments about the water view, but the Alta Vista has had issues. And one of the concerns that I think the staff should look at is to make sure the legal documents make clear who has the actual responsibility for the property at the ground level. Because you don't want to be in a situation where condo says it's the rental building's problem and the rental building says it's the condo's problem. So that is really a legal issue, but it should be a concern to the county, which is going to have to deal with ground level issues going forward, as well as the surrounding neighbors.
Absolutely. Okay. And then I'll say affordable housing to keep it brief and then get your priorities for community benefits.
I'm the loading dock issue, so.
Okay.
Tell me when I'm ready
So
to
we'll
do that.
move on. Okay. Construction.
That's another thing that we're just gonna hear, the applicant would hear feedback on.
Quick
They don't really
feedback.
have
That's
any
all we're trying to do here.
plans out yet.
Yeah. So we'll just write down the line this way.
So we, as the immediate neighbor of the condominium, have a lot of concerns over the construction process. we are sort of in this unfortunate position where the biggest part of our building faces north, faces the applicant site. We have over 200 units that are directly facing this site. That's 300, 400 people and bedrooms that people are living in every day. And this is a very unique circumstance, right? Not just between, the land topics, between the Continental and the applicants, but really relying on the metro construction being done concurrently or stacked together with. These over 200 homes, right? These are condos. These are people's homes that they own, that they've invested their money and their time in. They're going to be facing 4-5 years of construction between the metro going on from 2027 to 2030, and whatever this building is able to work around that, it's completely unclear, I think, to both of us at this point in time, if that can be done concurrently or if it's a stack situation. And the county has incredibly generous noise hours, right? During the week, 89% of waking hours, as much noise as you want can be made, the pile driving, the dump trucks, et cetera. And the weekends, it's 70%. And while a normal project, that went on for a year or two, that's certainly something that people can live through. 4 to 5 years really puts a grave question on how, habitable these homes are. And we have serious concerns with that. Our ask for the site plan condition is to restrict construction from weekends. And we will be making the same ask to the metro, just because when you put people in these positions, it's incredibly difficult. Beyond that, the location of the site is so close. We're working 40 feet away from a bedroom window is the hole in the ground where you're going to have pile driving and all kinds of construction activity. And that 40 feet applies across the entire property because their garage comes further from their property onto our property underground. And it's just not the standard construction setup. It's not the standard development, and it really can't be treated as standard when it comes to the hundreds of people that live in such close proximity.
Yeah, just as a reminder, and I'll say this on the record, at PC, being a Ballston, Virginia Square resident myself, none of your construction people, when you finally decide who that will be, have been in any of these meetings. They don't know anything about this. They've not heard any comments. They don't know any empathy about anything. And we have had some situations within BVSCA where there's been a lot of construction, and some of the construction crews are less than receptive to neighbors or have been led to believe that neighbors are nothing but a pain in the butt. So the way that you can kind of get around that, I think, is keep the communication ongoing and, seamless, and be the instigator of that. If there are changes in what residents nearby could come to expect, you need to be right on top of that. And please make sure whoever it is that they are well briefed on what's going on, because otherwise it becomes a negative for the area neighbors. So that's super important to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Keeping lines of communication open.
Yeah, as someone who's lived next to a similar project before, I lived really close to Continental. I was impacted by the 11th and Vermont project. It is very important, especially during certain phases of construction, like the pile driving. I've been woken up by a pile driving close to my window, So the Civic Association will definitely support, the Continental's request to have reduced construction hours. And I'll admit I'm a little pessimistic that it will happen, but I'm hopeful that you guys will be open to that. And regardless of what's decided, it's also helpful to be transparent about when you're actually going to do work, because sometimes you say it's going to be 9 to 9, but it's probably not going to be 9 to 9. So tell people so they know what to expect. And make sure you do have that liaison so they know who to contact. I know who to contact when we have problems. Because we really need to know and have that direct contact with you guys to make sure problems are addressed, like Nina's talking about, where the construction crew is not being responsive, and we know who can go up the chain too. So, yeah.
Any last comments on construction?
Yeah, from
Yes,
lessons learned, I live right across from the RCA building in Roslyn at the Waterview. The liaison with CBG, the builder, has been excellent. They listen to our concerns and stuff like that. Our biggest problem has been Dominion Electric, that is butchering 19th Street in North Lynn for the last 4 years. And that has been a traffic problem and more of a noise problem. So you may have that problem with Metro with the elevator or something like that, but that's from a lessons learned. But the construction, if you have a good builder there and a good liaison person, they will take your call and make any accommodation.
Do loading dock.
Yeah, oh, I can do it now?
You're on.
Oh, right.
You're on. It's your time to shine.
If you could put up on the screen the slide, I think it was 2 of the applicant, which had the floor plan with the ground floor. Because first is a clarifying question, because you're saying that right now they're asking for 30-foot deep loading dock, whereas the county requires minimum 4, or first minimum 40. You can get that up. So the loading dock is over here. This is the driveway. It goes back. Is this the 30 feet?
Yeah.
Okay, so if the extra 10 feet would come out into here.
Yeah.
No, we don't own that land.
Now, this driveway, there's no pedestrian way through here. Is that correct?
Right.
It's just a driveway for the loading dock.
Yes.
Below with the ground.
So, and this is where the building ends. So this is open air above.
Right.
So if a truck sticks out, it's just going to get wet in the rain, but nobody's going to be walking through there, right?
Correct.
So
it wouldn't block pedestrians, right? Our concern is with residents of the Continental.
They get to see a truck.
That's how that's how we see it. We want to try to help.
To be clear,
Continental minimize.
I can help too.
Yeah.
I agree, Peter, that was the concern as expressed. If we make it deeper, we sacrifice other things in the building.
Right, and I know that. I don't want to, that's why I don't think it makes sense to do deeper. But even like if you put a shed over that extra 10 feet, does that make the building bigger?
We don't own that land.
So you zoom in on this.
Where the driveway is?
It's part of all of this complexity that's
So
Continental.
the red dotted
Oh, I see.
line,
Okay.
everything within the red dotted line, we are allowed to build building structure because that is fully our land.
Okay,
Everything south
I
of it,
get that then.
we can't build a structure above ground.
The good of the orders too, a 40-foot deep loading dock would be necessary for the truly large moving trucks
Right,
that,
which come like once a month.
at most. Obviously, if we have larger units, maybe there's more, but that's still relatively a rare instance.
I mean, initially you're gonna have a lot of it because people are moving in.
Of course, but it's a different, there's not a large amount of retail here with the big trucks, some grocery store here. This isn't a daily activity at all. And so the number of times that you would probably have a truck that would be sticking its fat butt out of that loading dock is probably, like Jim said, maybe once a month. I don't know, but it's not every day at all. And so I don't think it's a big impact visually.
I mean,
but
yeah.
We're taking.
Right, I mean, I don't live in the Continental, so I can't speak.
I agree.
And you're the ones who have to look at it every day, but personally, I'm not gonna be complaining about this at PC. You know, it seems fairly innocuous as a deviation. And getting to look at a truck isn't the worst thing in the world, I suppose.
Yeah, I think our biggest concern with that would be more the truck traffic. If there were to be a retail business that did have, obviously it's not a Total Wine, but from the 901 building, we get a lot of truck traffic there between the PF Chang's and other retail establishments. And just frankly, not using the loading dock and using North Vermont Street, illegally parking on the public portion and doing their loading and unloading there. So our concern is more just having any, 40-foot or bigger truck, any sort of semi in that alley system is really going to be bad from a logistics perspective. And especially if they were to, choose not to back into the loading dock and just do their loading and unloading in the alley itself, that would be even worse.
So this is just for residents to move in without the building, right? Because I live near my loading dock.
Retail loading would use the loading dock, but retail loading for business that size, John could tell you that that's probably not as likely to be semi-trailers.
It depends. It depends what the
truck. It's probably likely to be a semi-trailer.
It depends.
Are there residents units right there where
I was thinking of some of the small, go ahead, it's fine.
It completely depends on what the business is. We have both retail spaces. We'll have access to the loading dock. So I'm not here to say that they're never going to use it, but if it's a retail business that has more UPS style deliveries, chances are they're going to drop off on the street. If it's a retail business that has scheduled deliveries where somebody's dropping off lots of food products, then they might use the loading dock.
There are further site plan conditions as well that restrict outdoor loading activities. So it's supposed to happen behind closed doors. That's part of the standard condition. So they wouldn't be doing it in the driveway. It's supposed to be inside, which kind of limits the size as well.
Which doesn't happen.
Yeah, and that's where we don't like to modify because there can be enforceability issues and stuff, but it is something we're still.
Yeah, it's something we're gonna have to just take and circulate around with staff and see where we land.
I mean, you guys in the Continental, how often do you have moving vans going in and out of your loading dock? You have a pretty big building.
We have a pretty big building. We're at over 400 units. We probably have moving twice to 3 times a week. But as a condominium, you know, it depends if they're apartments. Apartments have a lot more turnover.
Yeah.
But we rarely have, you know, a big moving truck. And we have no retail space, so there's no other retail loading and unloading. But, you know, 40-foot moving trucks is not something that we
Fairly rare.
experience. Very rare. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not just for moving, right? Because I live in a place where there's like a bunch of units. It's also like if you replace your fridge.
Yeah,
If you.
but usually those aren't big tractor trailers.
Right. They're box trucks.
Right, but my neighborhood gets usually the box trucks to do the refrigerators and stuff.
We always have box trucks. It's a big box truck, don't get me wrong, but it's not a separated cab. The box trucks would fit. Yeah. The worst case scenario is the
trailers. I think the takeaway here is that there could be a scenario that's not terribly unlikely that you have a lot of traffic moving in this very complicated alley network between the residents in the building, the residents retail in this new building.
Our loading dock.
Yeah, exactly.
We have lots of truck turns we can talk about it.
Right.
TC.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just something I think that you all have to.
And maybe the solution is,
Yes.
okay, my size.
And just to jump in from a transportation perspective, this is
Park.
not the,
Mr. Flores, please go, because you can get a permit from the county to do that.
And with the loading zones instead of
Yeah.
parking.
It's,
Floor is yours.
loading is hard.
Did you say?
That bag.
Okay.
You're muted.
I was just gonna say, I should be unmuted now. Am I good?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. This is something that we've seen fairly common with site plans recently with the 1,800 point turns in and out of alleyways. I've looked over these plans and I'm not entirely concerned just given the size of the building. I know it's going to be busy, but living in a multi-unit building myself with similar chaos near a not entirely crowded loading dock, but complicated loading dock, I don't think this is going to cause a show-stopping issue.
Everything
But again,
is valid. It's also that, you know, in an increasingly urban county, we have these urban conditions, including loading, et cetera, which is a fact of city life and it's difficult to deal with. They struggle with it just as much in DC. I'm not saying that to undermine anything that staff is saying. It is appropriate to think about these things, make sure they work as best they can, but we are living in what is essentially a city. So that's part of it.
yes. If I could ask a question, Commissioner Schreiner, partially related to the loading dock, but also related to the separation of the condominium and possibility of the condominium and apartment. How would fire and EMS work with the dual building? Would there be a play with the loading dock? What, if you could familiarize myself with that strategy, being that there's 2 buildings,
So
I would appreciate it.
the buildings would share the egress stairwells. There's 2 stairwell cores.
Okay.
There's a requirement, I understand, for elevator. So just one elevator goes all the way up and down the building?
Yeah, two elevators will go all the way up and that's just a stair.
So
Fire
yeah.
access creates a fire access lobby.
So there's a fire access lobby required in Arlington on every floor. So the elevator core that goes from the very bottom to the very top would be within the portion of the building we would program for the condominium, but it would still exist on the rental floors for emergency purposes.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so we're slightly over time now, but I'm going to go around the room if there are any quick last minute questions, comments, etc.
Or compliments.
Or compliments too if you want. So Michelle, I know you had just a quick comment about.
I am not gonna pay a compliment. I'm sorry. I am, well, because I brought this up I was here at the first meeting and I was asking the applicant to address my concerns about the sheet of glass that I saw on that northwest facade. That northwest corner is of high concern to me. I agree with all the other concerns that I've heard. I mean, those are gonna be, I see that normally those concerns get addressed much more readily than some of the ones that seem to have more, they're more about form. And so I am pushing on that. And I really would like to see some, something addressed, about the bird thing, I think can be addressed by using less glass, the spandrels, mullions, the glazing, all of that. I would like to see something more interesting than just a sheet of glass on Fairfax Drive, please, and thank you.
I like if you can make the condo work, that'd be great. We could use more condos in this county. There's a lot of people that would presumably like to downsize. We could free up housing by them doing that, but there really is not enough of the type of project you're proposing that people could then downsize into. So if that could work, that I think would be great.
Wanted to thank you for the raised at level crossing across the alleyways. No surprise you didn't do it across Vermont. I think that's probably more of a staff and county problem than like you guys, but I think that is such a big difference. We're just surrounded by asphalt, so thank you.
Just wanted to also express our gratitude to the applicants for the improvements on the pavers, the improvements in the green space, the improvements to building design. I did want to touch on, we shared similar concerns with the glass, especially on the south side of the building from a reflectivity perspective, reflecting back into our units. So that low reflectivity glass is sort of the only thing that they've come to the table with. But it is something that we see, as much as we can do to reduce that glare, it's going to be now directly back in our units is something we support as well.
And Chris Flores, and then Jill.
Out of my lane, but commending on the first positive response I've seen from Dr. Byrne with regard to biophilia. Congratulations. I know lots of hard work went into that. I don't have any transportation oriented concerns. Majority of my comments at our last meeting covered them, but want to echo the commissioner's comments about condominiums as a lifelong renter. I don't ever want to move out of a high rise, but I would like to own some property at some point. So thank you.
I've already given you all the compliments, sorry, but I would like to express my alarm at the prospect that the glazing that you're proposing will actually make the bird striking worse. And I don't know if it's true or not. So I'll be researching that or what our process is from here, but I'll put that in my comment.
I guarantee you, Nia or someone like her will raise it in planning commission, and we'll circle back to that. We can,
okay.
That's something we can check on.
Yeah, we should be able to check on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I didn't know anything about that. Thank you.
All right. I think that's everything. Thank you all for bearing with us for the technical difficulties. Having a great conversation tonight. I always say this could have been anywhere on this Thursday night. You chose to be here, so thank you for spending your time with us tonight.